I went over, walked through the house, and that's when I found her. I rang 000.
I was just in complete shock and knew that I went into some kind of weird protective mode.
Didn't really know what to say, what to think. I sort of crouched down, and Camille said, "You need to get home."
I'm Debbie Scott. I'm Tiff's mum. When she was born, she was just beautiful. Just perfect baby.
So I was 10, I was an only child till then, and then my sister Tiff came along, so I was very excited to have a little playmate. I got to name her, so I named her Tiffany, which is funny because she hated the name. We used to just call her Tiff. Lots of fun, lots of laughter, like having a little sister and then a little brother.
Once Dan came along, she was just like a little protective mum right from the start. Even get up through the night, and when I'd get up to feed him, she'd get up and sit alongside me on the lounge, and there was always a bond from them from the start.
Yeah, so Tiff, she was never that great at school academically, like she always struggled with that. And she was diagnosed with mild dyslexia in grade 7. She's always been she's always active. Her and I growing up, just played sports flat out. Always out in the yard playing cricket, hockey, loved Mighty Ducks. So we had the rollerblades on and we're on the concrete, with the hockey sticks. But yeah, going through school, it wasn't her thing.
So repeated grade 7, and that's probably when she first sort of started to feel, you could see her lose her self-confidence and stuff.
She was maybe comparing to me a lot and just seeing how things were happening easy for me and for herself. Like, why was it so tough?
Right through high school, she struggled, and then as they started to go to parties and things, she found she liked to beer to ease the pain of feeling not good enough.
Tiff was definitely introverted. Played sports, had friends at sports and that, had a group, but social interactions, like when we were younger, going to parties and things like that, she did struggle going out with new crowds. Like most of us do. It's sometimes some people just feel it a lot more. They have a lot more anxiety around it.
You could tell she was struggling to get ready to go out or whatever. And
she bought me the Story Bridge climb for my birthday, and so it was just her and I up there doing it. We were to meet her sister. We were up there because we were in our bridge climb gear, and we were going to meet them at the Story Bridge Hotel after for dinner. And all she could say was, "Oh, I don't want to go there, I don't want to go there. You know, look, we just got our tights on, you know, like our bridge climbing gear, and everybody will be dressed up." I said, "Oh, we'll be fine, we'll just go in and have a drink, and then we'll see them for a little bit, and then we'll leave." By the time we got to walk through the door at the hotel, she was just having such an anxiety attack that she just broke down, crying and shaking. And I'd never seen it that bad before. I had to ring Camille, and they came outside and we just talked to them for a while there, and then we took her home.
I couldn't understand because she was thin and beautiful and all the things I wish I was at, 28 or whatever it might be.
I'd seen her not want to walk into places, but we could always get her in there, and she'd be fine then, once she'd got in there sort of thing. But yeah, just to walk through that door that day, she just couldn't do it. She was never fully confident and just thought people didn't really like her. She always had that little anxiety thing. And then once she sort of started to struggle with her sexuality, that was even more so, but it was just another challenge she worked her way through.
It took her a long time to come out to us and the family and let us know that she was bisexual. Didn't have no judgment there at all. She was still our Tiff. But for her, it was a big battle. I think she was in her early 20s when she finally told us.
Over time, she got more and more comfortable with that, but it was definitely something that she struggled to grasp, and more so what people thought of her, I guess.
When she told us about it, we said, "Doesn't matter, we just love you anyway." And then once she knew that weight was lifted off her shoulder, that we all loved her still, that was the main thing. Because I remember when she first told me, she said, "Mum, I need to tell you something, you're probably going to hate me." And I said, "I'd never hate you." And so once she could tell me and knew that was the case, that we all accepted it, she was a lot happier.
Tiff she had a few jobs growing up.
She had retail jobs, cleaning jobs.
But yeah, I used to encourage her to apply for different roles and things all the time, even do the application for her, just because she needed that confidence to get there. And
ended up packing up and going to Canada, and she was over there for, I think, 1.5 to 2 years doing a working holiday, which was awesome for her. It got her out of her comfort zone. Yeah, and she loved it. She had some really great memories.
Everywhere she worked, like, she was very loved. Like, I remember when she went to Canada, she went for the ski season and they asked her to stay for the summer. Like, everywhere, in her high school job, she worked at a Chinese restaurant and they adored her. Like, she was always really loved and always made lots of friends.
The painting is from Tiff loved to tell this story when she worked at Eldonda. The Aboriginals used to come, and there was a grassed area out front of the roadhouse and they would gather there. Some would sit there painting and stuff like that, doing the artwork. The lady who painted that, Tiff, went over. She loved to talk to them. She just found they were always very respectful to her. She wanted to sell Tiff the painting for $400 or $500 and Tiff said, "Oh, I love it, but I don't have that sort of money." By the end of the day, she went over and she said she hadn't sold it still, and she was a bit thirsty by this stage, and so she sold it to Tiff for $25 and a six-pack. And Tiff loved to tell that story. Still continued to get random messages from some of the people she worked with. Just what a great girl she was and how they could ask her to do anything, and she was such a good worker.
And I think that's when she then went and worked for the Corporal in Brisbane after that.
She liked it. She'd been out and visited Dan a few times out in Alice Springs, and he'd taken her out to the station. And I knew when she went to Steve and Bella's and Ingie station, I'd met them and I knew how wonderful they were to Dan, and I knew that she was in good care. She thrived, yeah, with her, had her dog with her and had Hanson out there with her.
I remember one of the things she was very disheartened about was she tried to get into the Northern Territory Police and missed out, and she, very upset about that. And that was probably only a short while before everything happened. That would have been in the back of her mind, but the week before she passed away, we were having the really deep conversations because she'd just come back from the Northern Territory, and I was really excited because me, Dan and Tiff were all back living in Maryborough. She was upset because split up with her partner. She was like, I shouldn't be 30 and broke, and wanted to have a baby and this, that and the other. And I remember saying to her, well, I'm 40 and broke. We had a laugh, and babies aren't all that they're cracked up to be sometimes, but have one and I'll help you, and we talked about, other people's mental health state at the time. So, there was opportunity for her to let me know that she was struggling, but she didn't. And
Tiff and I were sitting on the front steps, having a beer like we did most days. She was working with me at the time. She'd come back to Maryborough. She'd just recently had a breakup with her girlfriend in Darwin. She was struggling with that a bit. She sort of felt like she'd, probably was feeling a bit like a failure coming home. And we're talking, and I was just giving her some life advice. Yeah, there was a part there in the conversation that I remember saying to Tiff, because Tiff had attempted suicide when she was younger, and it was always something that I sort of had a bit of a worry about. I said to her, as to the words of, I was like, "Oh, you're not thinking about killing yourself again, are you?" She's like, "Oh, no, I wouldn't do that." I was like, "Oh, good." It is something that has stuck with me. Yeah, it wouldn't have been that long after that conversation that she did, take her life. Now, since doing my counselling course, I've realised that it wasn't the best way to ask the question. To ask someone if they're, having thoughts of suicide, it's a much easier way for them to be able to open up to you, rather than being like, "Oh, you're not thinking about killing yourself, are you?" It's such a harder way of, they're gonna shut off to that. I know that she knew that I was always there for her and would do anything for her. When someone is in that place, they're not thinking about people around them.
The day before, and Dan had left on the Tuesday, I think it was, to go on a holiday, and ironically it was supposedly to catch up with Tiff up in Darwin, but in the meantime she had come back to Maryborough. On the Thursday afternoon she came over to get Hanson to take over there with her, because she said she was feeling a bit lonely without anybody around. She wanted to get Hanson to go over. Friday afternoon I called in to see her on the way home from work, and she didn't answer the door, and I didn't have my key on me to get in. Thought she must have just been asleep after a big day at work.
the day that it happened, we were supposed to go on a sunset cruise together. A couple messages on the Friday, and I started to be like, oh, she hasn't responded. She's probably just sleeping. She was doing a TA job at the time, and we love our sleep, the Gillens, so I thought I'll just leave her be. And Then I woke up on the Saturday morning and I noticed she still hadn't read it, and I thought, oh, that's really strange, but tried calling her and, it just went straight to voice message, and I'm like, keep wondering. And I rang Mum and said, have you been able to get a hold of Tiff? I can't, we're meant to go in like 2 hours sort of thing.
And I said, oh, I've got a key, I'll go home and go over. I went over and walked through the house, and that's when I found her. And I just, I rang 000, and I just went and sat out on the back landing, and then I rang my husband, and I rang Mark, said to him, tell Camille she has to come straight over, but you stay home with the kids, don't let her bring the kids.
And I hung up, and I remember thinking, like, oh gosh, I hope she hasn't, done anything stupid. But again, tried to shake it off. That was the first moment where I was like, oh God, what's happened? Down the spare room, trying on dresses, and my phone rang, and it was down the hallway, and my heart just sank because I knew it was Mum. I was at home with my kids and my husband at the time, and Mum's visibly upset on the phone, and telling me to get there and not to bring the kids, and went around the back to Mum, and we hugged, and Mum, I knew something had happened, and yeah, she told me how it happened and things like that, and I was just in complete shock and knew that I went into some kind of weird protective mode because I knew Mum wasn't going to be able to talk to people and call people, and I had to let my auntie know we weren't coming to stay. I had to, Dan was on his way to Darwin in a car, like he was in the middle of nowhere, and it was awful having to be the person that told people, like my auntie, my dad and my brother, like definitely the hardest ones to do.
I was travelling from Maryborough to Darwin. I was doing a bit of a road trip with my mate who lived in Darwin, Luke. We're probably 3 days into the trip. I know we're about 8 hours from Darwin. It's going through an Aboriginal community. That's where I had a little bit of phone reception, and I had a missed call from Camille, and then I had a message saying, call me when you can, it's urgent or it's an emergency or something like that. Got out the car, we pulled up to fill up, and I got out and I gave her a call, and that's when she told me that Tiff had committed suicide. I was in a state of shock, didn't really know what to say, what to think. I sort of crouched down, and Camille said, you need to get home. And I was like, okay, yep. So I think I just went into sort of a state of preservation, where I was just like, all right, I've got to get back, I've got to get on a flight. Couldn't have asked for a better support network at that point. They are like, we'll get you back to Darwin straight away. We'll get you on the next flight. Got to Darwin, and plane ticket sorted for like 2 hours of getting there. So pretty well while I was waiting at the airport, and I was like, I don't really want to be around anyone right now. His doors opened up, and there was a flight had landed, and all these people started filtering out. I was like, not much space to myself. Yeah, there was a little kid that come running out and ran up to his grandma, gave her a big hug. And I just remember thinking at that time, because I've always wanted to have a family, that's something I would have loved to share with Tiff, and it's something I'm never going to get to share. I've had a dream since then. We were in a kitchen, and I walked in, and Tiff was holding my baby, and I knew it was a dream. And I remember being in my dream being like, I know this is a dream, but I knew I didn't want to wake up either.
Terrible. We were all in such shock, and I can't remember much else about the day, except people starting to arrive, all our family.
People found out so quickly. Like, I remember being at Mum's that night, and one of my other really good girlfriends out at some public event and found out, and just drove over straight away.
The thing, like small communities, things do get around very quickly. It was amazing, just the amount of people that offered their support, their help, even like the little things, like the silent things, flowers showing up, people dropping off food. I had a group of friends, they dropped off their Ingle It was full of takeaway like containers that they'd home cooked meals, and that was a godsend, because the last thing you feel like doing is cooking and really looking after yourself in that moment.
They just messaged Dan and said there's a mesky at your, fridge thing at your front door. You just have to take it inside and plug it in. So that fed us for, at least a week. It was just...
And they were pretty bloody good meals too.
It was the strangest thing that Maryborough were holding us. That food was what kept Mum and I alive for especially those first 2 weeks.
The flowers. I remember it was the first time I ever realised the beauty of flowers, because I remember coming out of my room one morning, I walked into the kitchen where our table was just covered with flowers. But the smell, it was just such a beautiful smell to walk into, and such a sad time. Just knowing there's still beauty around us with the people, what they've done for us. Something that we'll always be forever grateful for.
I've always loved Maryborough, the people, the community, especially when something happens. Everybody rallies around when you need something.
Since Tiff's passed away, it's made me learn a lot about my own mental health. So I've done a lot of work to help me be mentally healthier, because I've needed to for my kids. I love the connections that we've made and the community that Fraser Coast Mates has created when we do our events and getting all the people together. But I organise events from time to time through my work, and something that I've loved through my own professional, personal development is amazing speakers, and I really get so driven to try and find good speakers. And some of the ones that we've had, when people come back and say that was amazing, and you've made an impact, and it's not to ever take away anyone else's trauma, but when you hear about somebody else's story and how they've overcome it, and their resilience kind of makes you think, oh, I'm doing okay, or yeah, I'm going to go and do what they did.
Since then, I've studied equine assisted therapy and counsel people with horses. That might give me a bit of an understanding on how to be able to help Tiff, because Tiff's always suffered with anxiety and depression. And my love for horses. I've always said I wanted to work with horses every day, so I just had that drive now. It's just that connection. I could really relate to people who are going through that or who have been through it. And I've said to people before, I was like, Tiff is probably one of the hardest lessons I've ever had to learn within my life, but it's given me something where I can really relate to people on a grief term, because I've never really lost someone that close. Yeah, that empathy now that I can feel from that is something I'm grateful for.
There's lots of messages out there about, reaching out for help. I guess my thing is, if you can't do it for yourself, do it for your family or the people that you potentially would leave behind.
We can offer all the help. We can put it out there, have all of our fundraising, have our events, and put it out there. There's somebody here for you. People have to know it's okay to ask. It's, break the stigma. That's what we want you to do, is just say, put your hand up and say you need help. Oh, I wish Tiff had done that.
I don't want any family to have to go through what we've been through, as I didn't just lose my sister that day. I lost a piece of me, a piece of my brother, but more so a big part of my mum. She will never be the same, and that's hurt a lot, having to watch that over the years.
As long as we save one life, which I know I've had people come back and tell me already that we've helped their partner. Mainly some women have come to me and said about their daughters. So as long as we keep helping people, I know then Tiff's life hasn't been in vain, and that's as a mum. That's all I can wish for her life was not in vain.
So we have a poem that the station bosses that Tiff and I both worked for, Steve and Bella, they wrote this poem for Tiff after she passed, and I can read that now. A girl came to the station with such a pretty look. She travelled from Eldunda to be the station cook. She did the job to the T, the best we'd ever had. She left us unexpected and left us also sad. She was loved throughout the region by everyone she met, a kinder hearted person we had never met. We'd employed her brother and met her mother, the nicest family. When she took the job, we were as happy as could be. We can't help but wonder all the whys and ifs. We will always remember our wonderful girl called Tiff. That song.